situation.
The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Yoho, for 5 minutes.
How you doing today?
All right. How are you?
I admire you for sitting through this. I learned a long time ago that the mind can only absorb what the rear end can endure, and you're doing a great job. I've been proud to be associated with agriculture pretty much all my life. You know, since I was 16, I've worked around agriculture. I'm a large animal veterinarian for the last 29 years, and I've worked with the USDA, and I'm proud of that organization. And you've got a tough job, and you've been at the helm for 3 years. My question kind of goes along with Mr. Collins is here, too. Knowing that sequestration was a possibility 2 years ago, the planning stage, and, you know, you've got to, you know, work out your budget. Knowing this was coming, I've heard you have the response that you did on the steps that you took, and I realize that you did do like a lot of the farmers in our area, and I did certainly in practice, do more with less, and I commend you for that. But again, with your mission statement, as you stated, is to make sure our food supply is safe in this country. And it's important when we address the topic for today's discussion to review the state of the rural economy. We want to make that strong. The small businesses are the backbone of this country, and of course the farmers are the breadbasket of this country and a large portion of the world. And so with the statements that come out of the administration or through the USDA, when you say, well, the money's not there, we're going to have to lay off the meat inspectors, I find that somewhat disheartening to come out of an agricultural community, because by sending that message out, you're stating to the rest of the world, not just the country, not just the region, that our food could possibly not be safe. And it's a bad message to send out, and I would caution in the future to use different messaging techniques because we're trying to expand agriculture. And again, I'm proud to be from Florida, which is such a strong ag area, that we want to make sure that we continue our trade with other countries. And, you know, I'd just like to hear your comments on that.
Congressman, we're expecting a record year of exports in beef, poultry, and pork. We've seen 4 of the best export years in the history of this country in the last 4 years. This is not. This is the reality of the circumstance, to give everyone adequate notice to be able to begin the process of adjusting to the reality that we're going to have to not lay people off, but furlough people. And by furloughing people, because of the nature of the inspection process in this country, in which companies are required to have food inspected and are required to have USDA inspectors as opposed to their own privately funded inspectors, it's going to cause a reduction in production for a period of time. And that's the unfortunate circumstance. We did take steps to try to minimize that, but at the end of the day, when 87% of your budget is that line item, there's just not much you can do.
I realize that. And, you know, I worked in a slaughterhouse. I worked with the inspector, and I've seen that process, and I know the importance. My concern is the messaging going out to people when we're trying to expand exports, and you've done a great job. I mean, and I commend, you know, the government for expanding that. But when we send a message out like that, it's kind of like BSE. When they hear one cow has BSE, the market's closed down. And if the foreign countries hear that we're not inspecting our meat, it sends a signal, and that's what concerns me. And if we are to keep the rural agricultural economy growing,
it's not that we're not. It's not that we're. And I don't think anybody ever said we're not inspecting the meat.
Right.
Just to say we're furloughing people, and so as a result, those production facilities are going to shut down for a period of time. It's not that food isn't going to be inspected.
It's one of those things, though. I know what we say, but we don't know what people hear. When you hear in the news that meat inspectors are going to be laid off not inspecting the meat, it sends a signal, and that concerns me.
We'll communicate to our cooperators in foreign countries precisely what this is all about. And we actually began that process. We have another part of sequester, which we haven't discussed today, is the impact on the Brazilian cotton situation, which is a very serious issue that's got to get resolved. We're going to have to sequester applies to that account as well. And so we're in the process of reaching out to our foreign friends and explain to them precisely what this is. And I don't anticipate, I anticipate that we're going to continue to have a strong, robust commitment to exports. Now, it will be impacted by the fact that not only are we dealing with this issue of meat inspection, but we're also dealing with less money in promotion, which is unfortunate.
Well, and the other thing is we need to work together for the betterment of not just ag, but of the country, and that's a bipartisan commitment, and I look forward to doing that. And I've got several other questions, but I'm going to run out of time. But I would like to talk, and maybe somebody from your department, on immigration. on the food stamp program, as a possibility of cutting back on our expenses, since that eats up about 80% of the farm bill. And I look forward to talking to you at a later date. Thank you for your time.